Well, good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Has there been any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple changes to the agenda. One deletion, 2.3B, in regards to the Drumheller IDP, IDCF.
Okay.
I did hear from the CAO on Sunday, and I don't know that we'll need to send a letter at this time, so
Okay.
in regards to that. And I'd like to add the addition of one legal matter in camera, Clooney Fire Association.
Okay.
And that's all I had for changes.
Okay. Where would you like the in camera?
6.3.
Okay. And was there another in camera at 2.2B after that? A planning matter?
No, I think it's already identified on here, the unsightly property.
Okay.
6.2, yeah.
Okay. We'll put that at 2.2B. Okay. Any other additions?
I have one,
Ben?
probably in camera at the same time as the Clooney one.
Okay, we'll put at the end.
Yeah, wherever, yeah.
Okay. Any other additions?
What's it pertaining to? Okay.
Any other additions? Motion to accept the amended agenda. Donna, all in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes. June 5th, 2018, regular council meeting minutes. Alan?
Mr. Chairman, we have one change to make on those minutes. It states Margaret Desaulnier is the recording secretary. It was Diane Bodie that day, so.
Okay. Amber?
So on page 11, there's, sorry, I'm just going to it. Just a clerical error where it says corporate and financial services report, I think. It says that twice. I
That's
think it should
page
be
11 of the
transportation.
minutes?
Yeah. Bigger moved acceptance of the corporate and financial services. It just should be transportation and infrastructure.
I see what you're saying. Okay. I guess you'll have to watch the movie. Okay, any other motion to, how are we going to amend them, Ellen? Just noted and then after? Okay.
I'll move we approve the minutes of the June 5th public
Okay.
hearing
Any other questions?
as amended.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Carried. June 5th, public hearing, June 5th, 2018, public hearing minutes. Bylaws 2016-59, 2017-48, and 2018-02.
I'll move we adopt them as presented.
Okay, any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. And the June 19th, 2018 regular council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Ben has moved. Is there any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. And June June 19, 2018 public hearing minutes, bylaw 2018-13. Tom has moved. Is there any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move into public hearings. 2.1 bylaws, public hearing. I need a motion to recess council meeting, go into public hearing. Amber, any questions? All in favor? Carried. And with that, I'll open the public hearing for bylaw 2018-04. All the proper notifications have been done.
Yes, Mr. Chair, all proper notifications have been done.
Any member of the public have any concerns of any councillor listening to this public hearing? Not seeing any, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a public hearing to redesignate plus or minus 4.98 acres from agricultural general district to country residential district within the Southeast 22425 west of the 4th. Our staff's recommendation is that council undertake the public hearing. The purpose of this application is to separate and redesignate roughly 5 acres of that parcel to country residential. There's an existing dwelling, water well, and septic tank currently in place, and the remaining lands intended to be kept in agricultural use. So this is the former Western feedlots quarter section, one of them. We'll just go through the maps. So this is the bylaw map for the proposed redesignation. And then this is the location plan south of Strathmore of the proposed 5 acres. And that concludes my presentation for the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions or concerns? Public have any questions, concerns, comments? State your name, please, and
Good morning, Reeve, Castor, members of council. My name is Cameron Wallace, and I am a consultant for the Western Feedlots, and I would like to speak in favor of this land use reclassification.
okay.
I would like to request council's approval of the second and third readings of this bylaw for the following 4 reasons. Number 1 is there is a habitable building on site. Number 2, on-site servicing is available. There is a septic tank and a water well that pumps approximately 15 gallons per minute. Number 3 is the land use approval will allow the submission of the subdivision plan to Wheatland County. And finally, the sale of the country residential property will result in this home being occupied rather than vacant. Thank you very much for the opportunity of making this presentation.
You're welcome. Any questions while you're there? Not seeing any. Thanks.
Thank you, Reeve Castor.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing for bylaw 2018-04, and we're now back in council. Council's wishes. Jason?
I'll move that bylaw 2018-04 be given second reading.
Sorry, didn't catch that.
I'll move that bylaw 2018-04 be given second reading.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Council's wishes. Scott?
I'll move that bylaw 2018-04 be given third and final reading.
Okay, any questions? All in favor?
Well, just one
Oh,
second.
sorry.
I just caught this. It's
Okay.
on the location. I've always gone south from the town of Strathmore to get to that feedlot, so that north of the town of Strathmore is wrong. I think it's been wrong since the first time I've seen it. I just keep forgetting to mention that, so.
Okay, on the subject there, but the bylaw itself is the correct section number. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? carried. And with that, we'll do first readings for bylaw 2017-33. Whenever you're ready. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
It's raining and it's green out. What more can you say?
All right. So I have a first reading for bylaw 2017-33. The purpose and intent of this application is to allow for direct control by council over the development of land within the Southeast 162621 for approximately 159 acres for the continued development of the Midwest Colony. It's adjacent to Township Road 262 and approximately 10 kilometers southeast of the hamlet of Rosebud. Staff is recommending that council choose option 1 to approve first reading of bylaw 2017-33 and proceed with the public hearing on August 14th, 2018 at 9 a.m. Part of this application, as previously mentioned, it's allowed for council for direct control over the development of the land within the Southeast 162621. The intent of it is to provide specific regulations and for development that are proposed on the land that are not currently found together within existing districts of the land use bylaw. At this time, the applicant is proposing a mix of uses, some of which fall under the agricultural general district, which include but are not limited to an abattoir, dwelling, multi-unit, farm building, agricultural processing for major and minor, and a greenhouse that's private. However, there are several uses that are not currently in the agricultural general district that the applicant would like to see included. These include a worship facility, communal childcare, and school for colony. The direct control district was developed with ongoing collaboration between staff and the applicant in order to accurately represent the proposed development of the land. The district allows for site-specific development while ensuring the county's interests are protected through appropriate development and building regulations and requirements. Before I move on to the summary of the policies for this particular application, I just wanted to give a note to council, just a couple amendments that I would like to include if first reading is granted by council. Firstly, being the density, that it be for 4 multi-unit dwellings, and that the maximum amount of multi-unit dwellings should be 4 as well. There are just a couple of typos within the bylaw specifically for this application. Moving forward for policies for this particular application, for the RGMS, the uses within the proposed DC district are primarily agricultural in nature and will allow for continued agricultural operations on the parcel. Non-agricultural uses will promote and provide a quality of life for those living on the parcel, meeting the overarching goals of the regional growth management strategy. Through the municipal development plan, the proposed uses and developments within the DC district are cohesive with the overall intents and purposes of the policies and objectives of the MDP as they relate to agricultural, institutional uses, servicing, and residential development. Through the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, strategic high density and low development footprint on the parcel helps to establish a long-standing community which meets the requirements of building strong communities for the region. Through the land use bylaw, because this is being promoted as a direct control district, it is used as a planning tool for developments that do not fit within existing districts, but still meet the requirements of the county's overall growth and development needs. Further to that, the response and options for council's consideration include option 1, that first reading of bylaw 2017-33 be granted, which provides the first motion for first reading, and the second motion for public hearing to occur on August 14th, 2018. The second option is that 2017-33 be refused, and the third is that council approves an alternate recommendation. Following council's decision, staff will take on appropriate circulation if required, as well as notify the applicant of council's decision. I'm going to move down to the DC map here to show the specific site that's being proposed for redesignation. It's only in the red area. At this time, there is a spot that is proposed for a future cemetery, which is required by the Cemetery Act to be rezoned and subdivided out separately from the parcel. So it's not included as part of the redesignation. It'll be done at a further date with a different application. Within the report itself, I'm going to scroll down to the site map that I've prepared, just showing what the area looks like. So firstly, the location here, it's just southeast of Rosebud, and it's only the one parcel. Staff noted that although there are 2 technical parcels included as part of the Midwest Colony, only one of them includes uses that wouldn't be, that would require alternate rezoning for the direct control district. The second parcel in the southwest has primarily agricultural uses and isn't proposed for other uses outside of that zoning and intended use. And as can be noted here, the cemetery, not perfectly to scale, but it's just showing the area where it's proposed to be subdivided and rezoned at a future date. With this site map here, it's just showing as per the colony's site plan provided as part of the application, some of the uses that are to be included. Most of them are farm buildings and structures in orange, if it shows up. And then I'll zoom in here. The green are for utilities, the dark purple is for the multi-unit dwellings, and the blue are primarily institutional for the kindergarten and the communal school there. So that is all from me. If council has any questions regarding the application, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Council's wishes? Ben?
I move, excuse me, move that we approve first reading for bylaw 2017-33.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried.
And just as a note, I think you've officially moved over to the new colony now, so good luck with it, with your farm operations.
Thank you. And second motion for a public hearing. Ben's moved public hearing for August 14th. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. And request for decision, bylaw 2018-15, first reading. Whenever you're ready, Colt.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So this is first reading for bylaw 2018-15 to amend the land use bylaw to allow for medical marijuana production facilities to be approved outside of the West Highway 1 area structure plan by the Development Authority. In terms of location, it would be a county-wide land use bylaw amendment. Staff's recommendation is that council choose option 2, which is refusal for bylaw 2018-15 to allow for medical marijuana production facilities anywhere in the county at the discretion of the Development Authority. So the purpose of the textual amendments to amend section 8.14B of Wheatland County's land use bylaw to allow medical marijuana production facilities in locations outside of the West Highway 1 area structure plan at the discretion of the Development Authority. The attached report will go into the background information as why staff's not supporting this proposed textual amendment. There is an attached letter from Derek Fildebrandt, the MLA, submitted as part of the application, though it does not clearly speak to or support the actual LUB amendment being applied for, but administration have included it in the package for council's information. In addition, the figure of $300,000 stated in his letter as an estimation of tax contribution has not been verified by the county assessor. In terms of implications of recommendation, if council goes ahead with refusal of the bylaw, it would continue to set a clear message that these production facilities are only allowed in an approved and comprehensively planned industrial area structure plan, such as the WASP, rather than open up the possibility of medical marijuana production facilities anywhere in the county. Organizationally, if council does choose to give first reading for the proposed textual amendment, the planning department would be required to obtain a planning consultant to conduct the necessary countywide public engagement and require staff time to manage the consultant and provide input from the county in regards to the amendment. This may have an impact on the ability of staff to meet council's strategic objectives, as well as maintain a high level of customer service, as the department's currently understaffed as it is. Financially, if council does approve first reading, funds would have to be allocated from the operating contingency reserve to obtain that planning consultant to conduct the public engagement and facilitate county open houses due to the large-scale nature of the proposed amendment. In terms of potential environmental impacts, the proposed amendment raises concerns over servicing ability through allowing the development authority decision-making authority on this potentially high water user. As noted by legal counsel, servicing requirements in statutory plans such as the WASP cannot be amended, which is why focusing this use within a particular statutory plan is a requirement of administration and council at this time. So now just get into the report here. So in a bit of background information, so in 2014, so before my time, Wheatland County's land use bylaw was amended in consultation with legal counsel to allow for the provision of medical marijuana production facilities in the county. Based on planning rationale, security, safety, and considerations of impacts on adjacent landowners, water supply, and access, the land use bylaw was amended back then to only allow the use within the West Highway Structure Plan lands. It was based on the fact it was in close proximity to the town of Strathmore for safety and security purposes. It was a comprehensively planned industrial park with the necessary infrastructure to support a more intense use of this nature and had easy access to the Trans-Canada Highway and Calgary International Airport. The proposed amendment limited the location with specific regulations so that we wouldn't have these facilities all over the county with significant potential negative impacts on adjacent landowners, local farmers and ranchers, and the county's water supply. In May 2017, the land use bylaw was reviewed, and based on feedback from the community at 4 open houses, multiple online surveys, social media, and public hearing discussion, council approved the land use bylaw without changes that would allow for medical marijuana production facilities outside of the WASP. Based on this direction from council, staffs moved forward with focusing development in this area in line with council's approved rules and regulations and direction. The applicant for this application spoke at the public hearings to shift the land use bylaw to allow medical marijuana outside of the WASP area, but that was not supported by council at that time. Based on the fact that the applicant, to staff's knowledge, a conditional offer to purchase the property west of Carsland, they've applied for this textual amendment to allow them to move forward. Staff has advised the applicant that their proposal was not allowable at this time. However, that following the Goldfinch ASP, which is slated for completion at the end of this year or early next year, and the completion of the off-site levy, amendments to the land use bylaw may be considered at that time in this location, depending on council's wishes. However, this option did not align with the applicant's proposed timelines, which is why this textual amendment is before council today for a decision. So we have the policy analysis that will go into greater detail as why staff's recommending that council refuse the application. However, I'll just quickly summarize our concerns. The first is significantly reduced control of Wheatland County Council over planning and development decisions related to these facilities. If you open it up to at the discretion of the Development Authority, it's therefore in the hands of MPC, and if MPC refuses it, it's in the hands of your SDAB. So it gives SDAB the opportunity for decisions on any permit for these kinds of uses if this amendment was to move forward. And staff wouldn't have, right now, if the application was to come in, we'd recommend refusal to MPC based on it specifically states the WASP. If this amendment was to go forward, it would weaken that ability and that rationale and also bring before MPC and the SDAB. Decisions by council are not appealable, whereas those by MPC are, and then it goes to the SDAB, as I said. There's the risk of significant impacts on adjacent landowners through noise, smell, traffic, development, and community character. If the land use bylaws, medical marijuana regulations are weakened to allow for development for this use anywhere in the county, it opens up all our industrial parcels, general parcels for medical marijuana. The proposed amendment would open up any IG parcel in the county to potentially have this type of use, and it'd go right to the DP stage. Many were redesignated to this district under the proposals of alternative uses, as it was understood that this use was only allowed in the WASP. For example, the parcel referenced in this specific application that the textual amendment is proposing was redesignated on the basis of an RV storage facility, not a medical marijuana production facility. There's risks on the aquifer and water supply in the county. In the absence of a completed off-site levy for the Carsland ASP, led by the Public Works Department and SEMA, there's the potential that this textual amendment would open up areas in the county that do not have an adequate water supply for these types of facilities, which might negatively impact local farmers and ranchers. If a textual amendment to the LUB is considered following the Goldfinch ASP completion, and if the off-site levy is approved, potential amendments to the LUB could be considered that force municipal connections so as not to impact the farming community. Crime and security risks. In regards to these facilities being anywhere in the county, we may not have adequate coverage from a staffing perspective for protective services. Although these developments do have their own security systems proposed and are required to go through federal approvals, there is strong planning considerations in regards to these facilities being located in high traffic, high visibility areas and not isolated locations around the county. It's key that the council consider this textual amendment not in regards to the specific plans of this applicant, but how it could potentially impact county planning processes down the road with subsequent applications. Resident dissatisfaction and upheaval through the county's circulation process. Although it still leaves future facilities at the Development Authority's discretion, this proposed amendment would allow applications to come in and they would therefore be circulated, so people would have to provide their input and go through that process, but it could result in some dissatisfaction with the county in terms of the stress that people have when applications are circulated to them in that regard. So potential impact on staff resources and council's strategic priorities and goals. Opening up this amendment would potentially allow for DC districts or more DC districts in regards to this, or more permits for this type of use, which would put a strain on staff resources to implement the textual amendment. The proposed amendment contradicts council discussions to staff on further amending the LUB to restrict medical marijuana production facilities to the WASP. Staff has been given direction to amend the LUB from council to further lock down the definition so that applications couldn't come in outside of the West Highway 1. If this proposed amendment is given first reading, that would cause some confusion and contradict previous staff council direction to staff on that. So potential impact on the future success and viability of the West Highway 1 and other industrial ASPs. When you open up this use outside of other ASPs, for example, people have bought in the WASP with the intentions of understanding that was the only area that was allowed medical marijuana production facilities. This opens up the entire county and may impact the growth and the build out of those existing industrial parks. They have levies, they have other things already in place. If someone can go ahead with a facility outside of those areas and not have to pay the levies or those type of things, they're most likely to do that, so it will impact our industrial area structure plans. So yeah, as I said, county's industrial land and areas would have less of an ability to attract future development and may remain stagnant. For example, if the developer had the option, as the textual amendment would allow, to develop a facility out of the ASP, they could avoid the off-site levies and potentially higher land costs, which would result in the continued vacancy of the county's industrial land supply. We reviewed it through the RGMS. We noticed it opens up the entire county and doesn't allow for it within comprehensively planned industrial areas. We reviewed this through the municipal development plan, which has strong policies and objectives in regards to the county's water supply. Staff feels that this proposed amendment countywide would potentially impact the water supply of the county. In terms of the land use bylaw, it would potentially impact council's control as a decision-making body in implementing medical marijuana production facilities in the bylaw and provide more control to the Development Authority, Municipal Planning Commission, and then the SDAB if appealed. It would also further weaken the regulations in place in section 8.14 of the land use bylaw, such as G, which states that the property line of a production facility must not be located within 130 feet of any property line of any parcel which is not zoned as an industrial district at the time that the first DP is issued. This amendment would provide the potential for this use outside of the industrial parks, which have more contiguous industrial zoning, and force additional variances, as it would likely abut non-industrial uses in the county. Legal counsel was consulted on this textual amendment and noted their concern from shifting this to the Development Authority, as stated in the wording, due to the potential impacts on statutory planning and council's ability to set direction of the county from a planning standpoint and ensure servicing and other aspects of the MGA are met. So circulation. So this initial circulation was made by a previous file planners who no longer is with the county, and they originally applied for it at the discretion of council. That was the initial application. They then shifted it, realizing there was some challenges with that from a planning standpoint, and changed it to at the discretion of the Development Authority. So we would recirculate this prior to public hearing if it's given first reading with the correct wording. The only significant comments is Rocky View County noted, are we correct in understanding that the proposed amendments would provide for an application to be made to redesignate lands out of the WASP, and would the process be redesignation followed by a discretionary development permit application? They then noted their land use bylaw stating that it's only allowed in specific industrial districts as a discretionary use, including a 400-meter setback from dwellings, school sites, and residential parcels. These are the options for council's consideration. The first reading be granted, and that staff motion, that's motion 1. Then motion 2 would be that staff conduct public engagement in the fall for incorporation into a staff report for the public hearing probably in October or November. Or option 2, that the bylaw be refused. Or option 3, that council approve an alternate recommendation. As noted, staff's recommending refusal as it shifts decision-making on a more contentious use to the Development Authority and opens it up to potential appeals through amending directions council has set. It increases potential impacts to county ratepayers through the nuisance effects, has limited economic benefits to Wheatland County in terms of tax assessments. We have some preliminary work we've done with the tax assessor, and the growing itself is largely taxed at an agricultural rate. It's not the industrial rates that you may think. I can't speak to it specifically. I'm not a tax assessor, but it's just something to keep in mind with economic development hat on. And there's the potential risks on the county's aquifers and water supply, which may impact agricultural operations in lower water areas of the county. Provides increased crime and security risks as it opens up all IG parcels outside of the WASP to this potential use, which may not be near transportation corridors or the RCMP. And it impacts staff resources, and it doesn't align with the county's statutory documents. So staff's not recommending proceeding to public hearing and second and third reading, as is usually the case for site-specific land use redesignations, due to the widespread nature of this proposed textual amendment. Given the vast potential planning consequences to the county, public engagement throughout the county would be required, which has not been budgeted for, and as I noted. At first reading, if council is of the opinion that a proposal is too far out of alignment with their strategic direction and views on county's development plans, refusal should be considered. However, if council does see merit in the proposed amendment, the public hearing should be delayed until later this year for public consultation. However, staff would like to note that public engagement for general amendments is challenging, as residents aren't usually vocal and involved unless they become aware of a specific proposal in close proximity to their property. And then we have the letter from the MLA, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? For council's information, I had a brief phone call with one of the proponents, Theo Moran, talking about all the good about. And he's here. I'm thinking one of you people there. I mentioned to him that first readings, we usually don't take comments from the public, but we, since I heard him, if council decides to, I would allow it, but it'll be, you've heard the staff, come on, if you have any other specific questions, now would be the time to ask them. Tom?
I actually wouldn't mind hearing from them because I'm really leaning towards what the staff is recommending here, so I'd just sort of like to hear. And if we say what the staff is going to say, there will not be any time for them to voice what they're going to say. So.
Okay, I should have asked our legal counsel before I mentioned it to council, but Joanne has her hand up. Go ahead, Joanne.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. I just want to caution council a little bit with process, because this is a proposed land use bylaw amendment that will involve a public hearing component, and we've had lots of discussion about that. That being said, because what's being proposed is, I would put it in the category of a legislative amendment to the land use bylaw rather than a site-specific amendment, because it will impact, as Mr. Nicol has explained, multiple industrial sites within the county. I think that puts council more to the legislative end. So I don't have a problem procedurally, because we haven't gone into public hearing yet, to hear from the proponent. However, I would caution council to keep those questions to why should it proceed to public hearing rather than getting into the merits of the application. And out of fairness, if there's anybody else here that wants to speak to it, in my opinion, council should allow those people to speak as well as a part of procedural fairness.
Thanks for that.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, Joanne, but I completely disagree with you. The public, in a first reading process, we don't open that up to the public. The public isn't here. There's nobody here that's on the opposite side of it. If we hear from them, we're only hearing one side of it. I will not be part of that. If the council allows it, I'll excuse myself from the discussion because I don't think it's fair to the public. This is not a public hearing. This is first reading, and whether or not we even agree with what they're putting forward, not about I think we know enough about the product itself. It's whether or not we want to allow that type of development everywhere in the municipality is what we're looking at. And there is opportunity later on in the year to deal with that. But at this point, no.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Well, if
Jason?
nobody has questions, I will put a motion on the floor that council refuse bylaw 2018-15.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm thinking from my perspective, and I know councils, whatever I won't say, but it's not a public hearing for sure, like we heard from Ben. We heard from staff on the different issues that would, if we opened it up to the cost, the water. We don't know a lot of them for sure. They're just suppositions. But we've talked about it at length with previous councils, and if we're going to, we can't get into the specifics of why we want it, just the area itself, if we want to change that. I know it's kind of babbly, but it's a philosophical type question. We can't get into the specifics of the production facilities, just open up the procedures to grant it or not, if that makes any sense at all. Not really. Okay.
And the reason I say no is because you're still only opening it up to one side of the conversation. There are other sides of the conversation, even with the location that we're talking about, and they're not here.
Mm-hmm. So is council ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, which was to rescind the bylaw? Okay, not rescind it, but vote against it. All in favor? Motion is defeated, the bylaw. Thanks for coming in. And I would entertain a motion to go on camera right now for labor? For labor?
So moved. So moved.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll have a